podcast today. It is about 1 o'clock we are recording. We'll have a guest today to talk about many things Perrysburg, and I've not recorded yet because he's not coming till 2:30. But after we get through the Perrysburg stuff, we'll do 20 minutes. So I've got content for our community affairs show, Contact, Sunday morning across all of our Cumulus media stations here. But you usually get it first here on the podcast. But after we hit the 20 minutes of all things Perrysburg and what brought Josh there, his background, I'd like to talk some baseball with him because he was a baseball star at Archbold and also had a pretty nice career at UT as well. So we'll leave sports for the end of it. I'm sure sports is the least interesting thing to you on this podcast. A couple of things. First, the Black Pearl has closed. I've never been, but I know it was a nice pregame spot for many people who have been to the Stranahan over the years. My preferred spot over there in that type of coordinated evening would be Yang's. I love Yang's. If somebody asks me for a go-to Chinese place, that's usually the first place that comes to mind. But I know Black Pearl was well known for their prime rib, which I'm not really a fan of. Isn't that just like undercooked brisket? I'm not a super rare meat fan, so I know many people are disappointed by the Black Pearl being closed. I was thinking the other day, this thought popped into my head of my mom. My mom was the one I usually went with, and she was the one running errands when I was a little boy. And I maybe she worked. I don't remember because I was so little. I'm talking like 4 or 5, 6 years old. And I was trying to think of the stores where we would go to, and I always remember asking, like, Mom, can I go look at the toys? I know what Kmart was one. We had another department store type place called Caldor. I saw when I asked this question on social, a lot of people said Hills. I don't know what that is. We didn't have that back home. But a handful of people said, I think it was Montgomery Ward. Now, either I've got my wards confused or there was a Montgomery Ward and the Jefferson Ward. Actually, I think my dad worked at the ward when I was a really little boy. But I remember that was a Black Friday shopping place for my mom. My mom was a Black Friday person before Black Friday started Thursday. Like, we were up at like 5 or something. But one of the things I always remember from those errands with my mom, I got an allowance as a little kid. I would collect the trash on Sunday nights because our trash pickup day was Monday. So I'd collect the trash, put it outside. I would feed and let out the dogs and other little responsibilities, a couple of bucks or whatever it was. When we would go to Kmart and I'd go off to the toy aisle, and also we're going to come back to things in the 80s that baffle me now before we get to Josh here. But I'd be 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever it was, and I'd wander off to the toy aisle and I would find, you guessed it, a Transformer. And it would be like $3.99. And I would go find my mom, and I'd be like, Mom, can you pay for, I only have $4. Can you pay for the tax? I was always asking my mom to pay for the tax. Now, whether I was smart and actually had the $5 or I actually only had $4, my mom, God love her, God bless her tax-paying soul and couponing and refunding skills, my mom always paid for the tax. Let me stick with the 80s there. So the full forward Toledo plan, the full forward Toledo vision was shared yesterday. There was about 3,000 public comments. We were overwhelmed. A former neighbor of mine said this because he's a city planner. Let me give his exact. This is the Lucas County Plan Commission. What was Ryan's exact job? It's so hard to find things when I don't write it aside. Senior planners, Josh Lewandowski and Ryan Sunvold. Ryan was a neighbor of mine when I lived downtown. The 5 areas are moved in. The 5 areas of themes are build, move, place, play, sustain. Focuses on design, use, and access to affordable housing. Strategies for increasing connectivity, supporting public transit, encouraging walkability. Strategies for placemaking, expanding opportunity, and building inclusive neighborhoods. More park access, support the arts, encourage tourism, and support childhood development. one of the other things they threw in a line here, like let's switch being known from the Rust Belt to the Water Belt and bring more activity to our river. The walkability thing jumped out at me. I don't know why now. Because there was an editorial in the Blade today, and the Blade editorial board was not thrilled that certain parts, I think north of Jefferson, were going to lose car lanes for bike lanes. And I've given my thoughts on further bikeability. It's been a while, but I do think that there are really avid bike people. And they can be quite extreme, like get rid of all the cars. I'm kind of in the middle, but having read that, and I can't think of the streets downtown where the lanes will be taken up. The editorial board was very car centric, and I think we can find a middle ground. But you know me, like above any and everything, use TARTA. There were people, unsurprisingly, lamenting, whining that they lost a parking space out in front of Ernest and the Adam Street Cafe downtown because parklets have been put in. And parking is getting tougher to find downtown because there's more and more activities, more and more people down there, more places to live, so more people are parked wherever they are for that. So, losing parking, use TARTA. We had great service, Alex and Belinda and I, getting the TARTA shuttle from the rec center to the fireworks in Maumee. From all accounts, other than the bus being packed, they had great service from Maumee back to the rec center. Use TARTA. I'm like TARTA and public transit above all. But back to the biking, and this is where I'm being a little snarky, but I'd also like some input. Going back to the 80s, I think a lot of people who would like to make things more bikeable are big Stranger Things fans. One of the reasons that I was attracted to the show so much is because it was like me growing up as a kid. And it brought back a lot of memes like, wow, those kids are out after dark. Look what they're up to. Do their parents know where they are? I rode my bike everywhere as a kid. And I will concede that roads are more dangerous now. I think they're more dangerous, if for no other reason that cars are bigger. And even though we have more safety features like lane change, lane assist, and emergency stop, cars are bigger and more pedestrians and bikers are getting run down. So I haven't looked back to the data from the 80s and 90s, but we lose a lot of pedestrians every year. And that doesn't even count the people who are just hurt but not killed. I biked everywhere. And the difference from Stranger Things was those kids lived in a small town, and, you know, the chances of being mowed down or waiting for traffic to stop was slim to none. I lived in a place like West Toledo, and I rode my bike everywhere. And I was probably more of an evil to drivers than they were to me, because there were times I'd zoom in and out of places. I'd go through red lights. I'd race across a red light when a car was coming, play a little chicken, even though I know I was going to make it. I remember one time, which was terribly unsafe, total sign of like late 80s, this is probably early 90s. I raced my dad home on my bike from a baseball game. It was a mile and a half or so, maybe. But I had to navigate a shopping center, a major intersection. It was not a short ride, but I wanted to race him because I knew that he had to, follow the laws of the road and lights and things like that. I could cut through the shopping centers and stuff. Like I said, I was probably more of a bane to pedestrians than cars were. A lot of us were on our bikes. I don't remember if I beat him home, but that was very unsafe. But the things we did in the 80s and 90s. So I'm asking, like, why can't people who want to bike now do that? Now, I'm not saying like run through traffic and be as daring as I was, but maybe things are more bikeable than you think. And again, I know things are perhaps much more dangerous now with vehicles versus walkers and bikers than ever before, but maybe you're being a little skittish, a little too cautious when it comes to biking. That's where I ask for some input. Two last things, and we'll dive into Josh here from Visit Perrysburg. Not going to dig into Game of Thrones anymore, and this is not anybody specifically. I swear, because a lot of people have this opinion. People I know, people I don't know, random people on the internet. After so many episodes, they are just in utter shock. They are aghast. They are speechless. It seems like, what, every other episode, if not every episode, there is an oh wow cliffhanger to end the episode. And I decided to rewatch season 1 of House of the Dragon last night. And I am shocked at people's shock and awe in the way these episodes end and some of the things that happens in these episodes. And I know I've asked this before. It's almost like somebody who has never watched Game of Thrones or the genre before, they just hop into episode 3 in House of the Dragon, and they are just appalled at what they're seeing. As a reminder, in episode 1, season 1 of House of the Dragon, an axe went through someone's face. There were several other bludgeonings. One person was throwing up from the violence in the show, and they cut a baby out of a woman. So I'm always stunned. Like, Game of Thrones has pushed the envelope of gore and shock farther than anything I can remember that is this popular, and that people are surprised every week at whether at some kind of cliffhanger somebody died. Like, Ned Stark lost his head in what, like episode 3? Like, here we get sucked in, especially if you don't read the books, we get sucked in to this noble, virtuous man, and bam, off with his head. So it stuns me that people are surprised by the shock and gore of Game of Thrones. One last thing. I came across an article last night, and it said something about and it was, I think it was in the Washington Post. So not some pseudoscience place. You don't have to have a dad bod. And you know me, like, I hate my DNA. I hate my genetics. I fight against them every goddamn day. I am jealous of people who have fantastic genetics and who might do gym things half as hard as I do and still have better results. Screw you. Some kind of tongue-in-cheek. And the Washington Post, this article kind of walked through things as to how the dad bod arises and how you can kind of evade it. And it makes a lot of sense. I think I intuitively knew this when the dad bod became a thing, like a phrase, a recognized phrase in the mid 2010s. So late 20s, early 30s, into your 30s, it's usually when the typical person, not me, gets into a relationship, gets married, has a kid or kids, they begin to excel in their career. These two things are often fused together, but let's just say it's just their career. They're very career oriented, so they spend more time working on that than the athletic activities than they used to participate in, even if they just have to cut back a little bit from gym 4 days a week or gym 5 days a week to 2 or 3 days a week, but they're excelling and progressing in their career. Now, add into that, that person has a family now, and they have a family that they want to support because they have kids and a house and things like that, and more expenses and more costs. We know this. So all the more reason to throw yourself more into work. So that's even less time to be active as the way you were, even though running kids around and chasing after them and having catch with your kids, there's activity in that, not gym activity, but there's activity in that. So with that, I guess naturally you begin to slow your metabolism down on its own. I guess in some ways, I do think I've been fortunate to age well. Like, now you can finally see that I have gray hairs in my beard. I'm 45 years old. Like, I didn't have multiple gray hairs in my beard until I was maybe 41 or 42. And I know plenty of men who have them in their like early to mid 30s. And that is obviously that we see that in a societal way as a way of aging. So I guess in some way, even with my lousy genetics and my soft body, there's the three things. Like it's ecto, meso, and the other morph. Like, I'm in between the two lower ones, and I hate it. The person that I described that like can just look at weights, like our friend Philip Taylor, who moved to the UK, he's the one on the very end where he just like looks at a weight and like begins to bulge muscles. Not me. I'm on the lower end of that scale. But I guess because well, I was very devoted to my career and doing everything I could to be successful at it and proceed and progress and things like that. I wasn't as driven as some people. It was more of like it kept me busy kind of thing. But I didn't have a family, so I didn't have to attend kids meetings, school things. And that allowed, I guess, me a few more gym visits than the person that was 33 and had 2 kids. So it was an interesting read about how the dad bod is in some ways kind of avoidable, but these are the sacrifices that we make in life. You sacrifice gym for a devoted, loving, caring family that most days you love, some days you hate. I sacrificed that for certain physical things, my career, and as you might have seen a post that I just put up, I like being alone. I was one of the originators. I was one of the OGs of going to the movies alone. I know people who up until recently, because they could just be on their phone the whole time, were horrified. They would never be caught dead eating alone. I've done that forever. Movies alone, eating alone. I think those are the big ones. I see people at the gym working out together. No thanks. I'm not there to talk. Might be helpful to have a workout partner for sets and exercises, but no thanks. Everything I do is alone. I eat alone, movies alone well, not anymore. I drink alone. Somebody said to me, like, you drink alone? And I was like, whatever I was at the time, 28, 33. You drink alone? That's so bad. And then it dawned on me, like, I do everything alone. Don't confuse alone for loneliness. It's kind of like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square. Alone is not loneliness, but loneliness is often alone. Even if you are surrounded by people, you could still be alone. Let's dive into today's guest. Josh, thanks for taking a couple of minutes, or like 20 of them, to hang out and talk all things Perrysburg.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You said CVB. I know this is Visit Perrysburg. Is there a difference?
Yeah, no. So it's the same. It's Perrysburg Convention and Visitors Bureau, but the slogan that got changed, I think, in 2022 was Visit Perrysburg, because that's ultimately our goal, is to get people to come to Perrysburg, see what we have to offer. And we know that once you come and visit, you'll be back. And we have a lot of things here in Perrysburg, and we're just happy to show everybody.
You're new to this position. Tell me some of your backstory. You did like recreation things in your hometown of Archbold?
Yeah, so for the past 7 years, I worked for the Archbold Parks and Recreation Department, where it was my job to create events and be in charge of youth and adult athletics and all of our classes that we put on for kids, adults, and then also basically, when it was the summertime, it was live at the ball fields because we were in charge of the baseball and softball. But my main focus was bringing new events to a small community. I'm born and raised there. I went to the University of Toledo, where I played baseball, came back and lived, met my wife, moved back to Toledo. And then one of the things was, a lot of people go away to college and they don't really want to come back to Archbold because there isn't a lot of things to do. So my job was it was created, and it was my job to bring things to Archbold so that people, when they do leave Archbold and they come back, because it's a great town to raise family, that we have things to do. And that ultimately what I did for the past 7 years.
What's something you're super proud of that wasn't there, but now was like a great project of yours, to speak to what you said? They don't stick around after, or they don't come back because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to start when we first got there was I wanted to bring an event to downtown Archbold where we would have a concert, sell alcohol. Now, anybody that knows Archbold, that hasn't been something that ever really happened. We're a very Mennonite kind of town. So I remember the first year when I created, we called it the Backyard Bash, we got a letter to the editor saying that we are promoting abuse, wife abuse, kids abuse with alcohol selling and stuff like that. So it was something different, but again, it's grown from that first year. We are on year 6 right now. We just finished. We had it in June. We changed the name to the Route 66 Bash because we do shut down Route 66 in downtown Archbold. We throw up a big stage. We have 3 acts. We have food trucks. We have alcohol. It's a great event, and again, we tried growing it to 2. We had a little bit of pushback, which is unfortunate because
welcoming the devil into town now, basically.
Yes. So that's something that I'm very proud of, and I hope, even though I'm not there, that they continue to do that because it is something that everybody in the community looks for.
You say we as in like you like to get back to it, or do you still have a hand in it at all?
So I just finished it this June. I went back, even though I took this new role because it is my baby, and so I wanted to finish out at least because I was in charge of everything. I didn't want to leave them hanging, so I went back for this last one, and unfortunately, it was like that week that was like 110 degrees all week. But again, we had a great turnout. I say we, but now it's not we anymore.
You said we a lot.
Yes,
with this.
I know.
That's why I wanted to come back to it.
Yeah, no. So obviously, it's great for the community. It's great for the businesses in town. It brings people from all over. I know last year when we had people from Missouri, we had people from Illinois, we had people from New York. They came because this is the closest that they could see the artists that we were getting. So again, it brings awareness to a small town. It brings people there, see what we have to offer. And that's kind of what my role is here in Perrysburg. But again, at a bigger scale, right? Like I go from a town of 3,500 people to a town of 25,000.
Right.
So I have a lot more resources. I have a lot more ability to do bigger things. And so I'm really looking forward to going on that with my role.
Last question before we hop to Perrysburg things. Who is the new Josh in Archbold?
Has not been hired. I just talked to my boss. They were doing interviews. I think they have one more interview this week, and then they will be making that decision. So actually, this weekend, mind you, my wife is not very happy with me, but I am going back because my former boss had a trip planned to Maine. So I'm going back this weekend to run a baseball tournament, and it's my wife's birthday.
Okay.
So it's kind of like in the doghouse, but
right.
I'm just, my boss was very good to me, so I didn't want to leave them hanging.
One last question about Archbold. What do you love most about it? Because clearly it's never going to leave your DNA. What can you, like when we talk about Toledo, you know the things that we hit the Metro Parks Museum, blah, blah, blah. What's the thing that Archbold you like bragging about?
Well, obviously, one of the things I'm very proud of is being in the Parks and Recreation. Our parks are beautiful. We have one of the best park system in Northwest Ohio, especially for a community our size. And then when you look at the school system, I'm very proud to be a Blue Streak, born and raised, played athletics there. That it allowed me to be the person that I am. I've always tried to convince my wife that my two boys should be Blue Streaks. I just finished up coaching basketball, girls basketball, this past season for the Blue Streaks. And obviously when I got this job, it just doesn't allow me to do that.
Sure.
But I will always bleed blue and gold. And again, if you're looking for a beautiful town to visit, a beautiful town to move to, Archbold is a great choice. Great athletics, great school system, great community support, and for one of the, like I said, one of the best park systems in Northwest Ohio.
Never trust me when I say one last question. So one last question about Archbold. What's the next big upcoming event they have?
So the next big event they have coming would probably, man, you put me on the spot.
Summer, fall, winter?
Yeah, so I think for the summer we're pretty much done. In the fall we normally hold like a September Fest, Oktoberfest kind of thing. And then this year we had planned, or they have planned, like a Winterfest, where we have a Christmas parade on Black Friday, and before it was just the parade at night. This year, well, it was my idea, but obviously I'm not there anymore. But our plan was to create a full day's worth. So we were going to have an iceless ice rink. We were going.
I'm sorry, what?
An iceless ice rink.
How does that work?
So yeah, I'm not really sure. That was going to be interesting to see. But
next guy can handle that.
Yeah, we hired a company. They're bringing that in. You wear ice skates, and you can skate on it. And we were going to put it on the road. And then we were gonna, in Archbold we have, which it's a lot of work, but it is very, we get people coming from all over. In the Christmas time, we put Christmas lights and Christmas designs in throughout our park, and you can drive through it. And so we were going to get a horse and carriage from Souders Village, and we're going to give rides through the park so people and families could sit in there and look at the lights while riding in a horse.
Will there be an actual horse, or will this be a horseless horse and carriage?
No, this will actually be a horse. Yes, this will be a horse.
So what other than being here at UT, I know you played baseball there. You were in sports admin was your degree as well?
Yep.
Did you want to be a general manager?
No, well, to be honest, sounds so bad, but I went to college to play baseball.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so I remember Cardell Jones says I didn't come here for school or play school.
Right, play football.
Yeah,
that's you?
Exactly how I felt. So when I went in there, I really didn't think of it in as a coach, it's something that I preach to my kids. Like, hey, listen, you could be as good as you want. It only takes one thing for your career to be done. Like, you have to start.
You had Tommy John surgery, right?
I did. I had Tommy John my junior year of high school. In 3 games before the tournament run, I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus, and then so I missed out my junior year. We won a state title in baseball. I missed out on that. I missed our state basketball run my junior year because of that injury, and then going into my junior year at UT, I had Tommy John, so I missed the whole junior year, and then my senior year. I tore my hamstring from the muscle that they took out of my hamstring to replace with my Tommy John.
For those who don't know, Tommy John is elbow surgery, and you were not a pitcher, so it's kind of, or were you?
Well, so I actually got recruited as both, but my freshman year, I originally was going to do both, but I actually got hot and took off, so they didn't have me pitch, and then we got back into trying to have me pitch. And one time it wasn't pitching. It was, we were taking infield down in Middle Tennessee, I think. And I threw the ball from the outfield to home and I heard it pop. And it felt weird and it hurt, but it didn't really do anything. The next morning, my arm was locked. I couldn't straighten it out. So when we went back, we got it and I had a complete tear in my UCL.
And you were just doing sports administration because it sounded like a cool major while you played ball?
Well, yeah. To be honest, I was a business major, but certain kind of math wasn't for me. So
same here.
So yeah. So like if you throw alphabet letters into math, I'm not very good at it. So once I realized that wasn't my forte, I switched over to something that I loved. And again, like I said, it wasn't very important to me until after I got done playing baseball and realized what education means and what it takes to be able to get an adult job.
So big person job. Yeah. So you're familiar with the area. So what drew you to the Perrysburg gig, which is a really big deal? And I'm sure you know that the farmers market almost went away and now it's hitting record numbers. So what brought you here?
Yeah. So one of the things is obviously I live in Toledo. My wife teaches in Oregon School District. So we found a middle point. So right off the turnpike, we both could go. When I was working in Archbold, it took me about 45-minute drive. At the time, it didn't really bother me, but then I started having kids. I have 2 young boys, a 3-year-old and soon to be 2-year-old. And we work crazy hours. So like there'd be times like on that concert, I didn't get home until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And so when you figure in the 45-minute drive, I started looking around to things that I can continue to do that I love. Like I love putting on events for the communities. This job came available and it was something that I was like, wow, I get to do what I love in a bigger scale and I'm 10 minutes away from home. My kids can come to work with me some days. It's closer for them. So again, like when we have the farmers market, my kids, my family, my wife, my in-laws, they all come walk around the market. We can have dinner. And so that's very important to me. Family's important to me. And so having that and having the resources that Perrysburg has, it was a no-brainer. When that job came open, I said I have to apply, threw my hat in the name, and obviously it stuck.
Walk me through some of the farmers market drama that you got up to speed on, because I was quite shocked because farmers markets are such a big thing now. People expect them, and for Perrysburg's to almost go away, and thankfully it got saved, would have been disappointing. And now again, it's got record attendance.
Yeah, so I wasn't really aware. Like, to be honest with you, I didn't really know about the Perrysburg Farmers Market until I started looking into the job. And then when I got offered the job, they had me come and shadow the farmers market, and I could not believe the amount of people that came to that.
Yeah.
You look at it, and the amount of people that come to Perrysburg for that is an impressive thing. Because you think of a farmer's market, you think of, hey, a couple farmers are coming. You come
not walk. Around here anymore, man. I mean, that Toledo Farmers Market downtown.
Absolutely.
If you shut that thing down, there would be a riot.
Absolutely. And again, we're talking about 2,000 to 5,000 average a time every Thursday. It's coming into Perrysburg. So when you look at the businesses downtown, like the amount of foot traffic that comes Thursday, not only for the farmers market, but you got people coming from all over. They see a store, they want to see, oh, hey, here's a coffee shop, or hey, here's Angel 101. It's like a flower shop kind of thing. They get to go have that experience, and it's also just beneficial for our businesses in downtown. Not only for that, but the surrounding area. You're gonna have people going to restaurants after they leave there. You're gonna have people stopping at gas stations. You're gonna have people stopping at stores. So it's a great resource for all of Perrysburg. But again, ultimately, this makes Perrysburg in the summers, like summers and fall, like this is what people look forward to. And I'm great that our organization was able to continue to do it. And we obviously stopped it from being non-existent.
Right. Is there another event now that this is up and running and successful and it's everything you just said? Is there another thing that you and your team have decided to focus on around the other part of the calendar?
So we got an event coming up in August 16, 17, 18. It's called Perrysburg Hearts the Arts. It's a 3-day art festival. That will be on Louisiana Avenue. The road will be shut down for those 3 days. We have 80 to 90 art vendors coming. They'll be judged. We have a kids zone, and then we have in the kids zone we're going to have inflatables, we're going to have balloons, we're going to have face painting. I think we're going to have crafts, and then obviously we'll have food trucks and stuff like that. So that's an event that's coming up, and then really after that, the rest of the calendar is kind of slim. I know that we have
Winterfest.
We have Winterfest, but that's in January, and that's actually through the DPI, Downtown Perrysburg Inc. So the only thing we have as Visit Perrysburg is we took over the holiday parade. So that is on Sunday, December 8th for this year.
Okay.
That will be getting changed next year because I have some big ideas for that.
You want to share?
Yeah. So my plan is our holiday parade is on a Sunday in the afternoon. And for
football,
for somebody that grew up where Christmas parade is a big deal, a Christmas parade should be at night with Christmas lights and that activity. So my plan is going forward, starting in 2025, we're going to look at dates to find where we can actually make that a full day event like we do in Archbold. So our plan would be to have a full day worth of events throughout the day, and then we would finish at night with a night parade where businesses and organizations or anybody that wants to can get in, decorate floats, decorate your truck, decorate your tractors, farm equipment, anything you have in Christmas lights, and make it an actual Christmas parade.
Great. Any other visions, maybe short-term, long-term ideas you'd like to implement?
Yeah, so I got some ideas.
They did say in one of the articles that I read about you, they're like, he's young, he's got visions, he's ready to go.
Yeah, so I actually I have a vision. I have something. I don't know that I can put it out there because I have a meeting to try to get it accomplished. I would say this: if I can get it accomplished, it will be a big 1-day event at night in a big arena or in an arena kind of thing.
Okay.
I guess I'll just say it. So my plan is this. My plan is I'm hoping that I can partner with the Perrysburg schools. I would love to rent the football field, and I would love to throw a big concert on the football field in Perrysburg. So again, I have a meeting with the school. I'm going to beg because it is absolutely set up for a perfect venue. It's right off 75. It's fenced in. It has concessions. It has bathrooms.
At the middle school you're talking about?
Yeah. So the football field right off of 75. The old yeah. So my plan is there. I would love to get like a country concert going in the summertime.
Another country concert.
It works. Hey, listen, you got to remember, I'm from the country. I was born and raised country music. I absolutely love country music. If you ask my wife, she tells me I need to grow my music. I need to get more involved in different kind of music, but for me, it's something that I love, passionate about. And again, the name isn't going to be country because every year it can be something completely different. But I think in that venue, it allows for a lot of people. It's perfect location right off 75. It brings a lot of people to Perrysburg. So people are going to spend money in the businesses, going out to eat before, going after, staying in hotels. So stuff like that.
Can I ask who your meeting is with? The school district?
Yeah, it would be the school district.
I don't know if you've thought of this, but I would think that one of the benefits that you could throw out is this could reduce the ask that we're going to have with the levy.
Yeah, so one of the things I also want to, my goal is to basically, I want school organizations to be involved. So one of the things that I would be looking at is, hey, how about where the parking lot is, have a school organization sell parking. And, hey, have an organization be in charge of concessions. Again, you're making extra money, and then we would obviously rent the field, and then being at the first year, not sure how profits would be, but then if profits are good, we would give a donation back to the school. So there's, again, I love working with the schools. In Archbold, we had a partnership with the schools that they used our baseball and softball facility. We were able to use their schools for the winter time and stuff like that and host programs. So I am very school oriented. So anytime that we can help the schools, that is number one in my book. Again, obviously Perrysburg going with how it's going with the schools. Again, it's a great. My plan is to say this. It's a great resource. It allows the people in the community to know that you're active into the community. You're willing to help. So anything that we can help with them and they can help with us, I'm hoping it's a great deal.
And getting other people who don't live there to come into the community to spend their money that you can thrust back into the school system, which is a hot topic right now.
Correct. Like I said, my goal is to get people to Perrysburg. And I've always said, once you come to Perrysburg and you see the beauty of Perrysburg and what actually Perrysburg has, it's hard not to come back. And that's the one selling point that I had for myself looking at it. Like if you go downtown Perrysburg, it has that small town feel. It literally feels like you're in Archbold. You have the local stores, you have all that stuff right there, but then you leave downtown and that's where it is, right? You have everything you need in the city limits. So it's a great selling point. Like, hey, come here. You have that small town feel. Grab some food. Go to a brewery. Have that. But then if you need to go to a store, you're only a couple minutes away and you can get whatever you need.
What are some of the other things that Visit Perrysburg does that's within your purview?
So one of our biggest things is obviously working with hotels and trying to find people to try to find different organizations that maybe want to come and have a conference at a hotel, or obviously our events and program, like our events that we host and partner with, trying to get people to come, stay. Obviously, in Perrysburg, one of the big reasons of staying in Perrysburg is obviously weddings, business. And then a lot of people don't realize this. If you're from the area, you do, but otherwise you don't. We have a great resource because we are right off of the Turnpike and 75. So somebody traveling through, it's a great stop to locate and be like, hey, listen, this looks like a great town. Let's stop off here, get in a hotel. We can go to Levis. We can go to downtown. We can do a lot of things here. We can go to the river. We can go to Fort Meigs. We can go do all these little things. They have great parks. That's one thing, like I said, being a park person, Perrysburg has some beautiful parks. So, again, we have a lot of resources for people to come and stay, and my job is to sell that to people, why you should come to Perrysburg and why you should stay for a weekend.
How can people find out more, follow Visit Perrysburg, and know the difference between it and DPI and the other organizations doing good things for Perrysburg? Yeah,
so you can find us on our website is visitperrysburg.com. You can email me at director@visitperrysburg.com. And if you guys have any questions about what to do in Perrysburg, where to go, you can reach out to me. Again, I tell people all the time, I'm always looking for new ideas. So if you're a resident, if you're a business owner in Perrysburg or even a surrounding community and you have an idea, throw it to me, because if it's something that works, I'm all for it. I'm all for new crazy ideas. Again, if it financially works for us, we will find a way to do it. But again, I can't always promise that we'll be able to. But if you give me the idea, like I said, I just met with somebody today about an opportunity that they're looking at wanting to do. And again, I'm gonna work on it and see if it's something that we can come up with. But if you're out there and you have a crazy idea, or you know of an organization that maybe does a travel throughout the United States, and we can find a way to get them to stop in Perrysburg, I would love the opportunity to.
Good luck topping Iceless Ice Rink, though.
I know. Yes.
Some rapid fire things. I've been here now 11 years. This is my home. We went pretty quickly from like the mid-teens to people would be like, there's nothing to do here. Some of that was true depending on where you are. And now I feel like we've gotten to a point where if you as a parent or a family or whoever you are don't line up your schedule correctly on the weekend, you're not going to be able to get to a bunch of things. One of the things I like to do is distribute and disseminate as many things and options as I can, because there's so many things going on. There's still people right now that don't know that there's a giant bounce house city at Franklin Park Mall. What do you say to other places, the other Archbolds in the area, as they try to build up to make sure they continue to survive and thrive, how they plan events, how they should proceed so that they can continue to exist as all these things are happening all over the area? There's always something to do everywhere.
I think it's all about marketing, right? And marketing, and it's a huge thing to get in with businesses in your local community and have that support, right? Like, so if we go and we don't work the businesses downtown and we just start throwing things and they're not supportive of it, it doesn't work out. So it's huge to have community support. Obviously in smaller towns, it's a lot easier because there isn't a lot of things to do, like you said. But when you start reaching into the bigger cities like Toledo, Perrysburg, Sylvania, I tell people this: if you can't find something to do, you're not looking, because it literally is right in front of your face.
Yeah.
So
even the little cities like Fremont has a downtown movie amphitheater now. Tiffin is doing things, and that's why I was always a proponent of what Mommy has done, and now I know some people were upset that Perrysburg is doing something with sidewalks to improve its downtown. But if these places don't grow, these smaller towns like the Archbolds and whatnot are going to pull people, and then these larger places will crumble and get to where people say, well, it's going to be like Toledo is now, which is kind of wrong, but hey, you got to keep up.
Yeah, so smaller towns obviously have to do a lot more, right? Because again, you're fighting that of people leaving the small towns for the big cities. So these smaller towns like Archbolds, Deltas, Swantons, even, they're having to do extra things to tell their people, hey, listen, we have to continue to produce events. We have to continue to have family functions throughout the year, because if we don't, these people are going to college, they're leaving, they're seeing the benefits of having, like, going to Toledo, Perrysburg, Sylvania, and seeing like, hey, you can have something every single day, every single week there's something. So again, that's the hard part about it, because in the smaller communities, our budgets aren't as big as what we have here. So you obviously have to work with businesses and fundraise and have that support. And luckily, I come from a great small town where businesses supported us in a huge way, because we have a decent budget, but our budget isn't for events. It's for maintaining our parks. So if it wasn't for the local businesses that sponsored our events, my job wouldn't even have happened anyways. So again, it's important to have those relationships that the businesses are willing to spend the money and have their name on it. And that's where it's important to throw very good events, because if you're just throwing stuff out and it's not working, businesses aren't going to support it, and you're going to go right back to where you were.
Speaking of business, is there a business or a spot that you have found in Perrysburg that you were surprised it's become a go-to of yours? Like, I'll give you an example. First of all, because we have a great Toledo library system, the Way Library gets a little overlooked. And right down the street from it, so I'm a big nerd, that Flotsam game place is freaking awesome. And so many people overlook it because it's like on the side of the railroad tracks. Any nooks, crannies, or things you found that you've really fallen in love with?
So one of the things I found out, coming from a small town, we do not have coffee shops. Like, you can get coffee. Don't get me wrong.
Maddie and Bella.
Yeah, no, in Archbold. So we didn't have we didn't have anything like that. Like, literally, my coffee would be driving through McDonald's and getting a black coffee. So when I first started in this job, I have meetings all the time, and meetings consisted of, hey, what coffee shop would you like to go to? And I'm like, I've never been to one. You tell me. So Flying Joe in Levis Commons has a peanut butter and jelly cold brew. And I tell you what, I am a sucker for anything like that. Like my ice cream, I always try to find peanut butter and like strawberry to make that peanut butter and jelly. This coffee tastes exactly like a peanut butter and jelly coffee.
Good tip.
So that is my go-to spot. I also joked when I got this job that I was going to have to pack my lunch because there are so many amazing restaurants in Perrysburg that I would gain so much weight, even more than I already have. So I love Inside the Fives Nashville chicken. It's so good. Let's see, what else did I love, like Blue Pacific in Levis Commons.
Yeah, really good spot.
Yes.
What is your relationship with Visit Perrysburg with Levis Commons? I'm sure the focus is always going to be on the small local businesses, but we can't ignore them as well. So what's the relationship like with them?
Yeah, so when I got this job, it was obviously a little rocky. One of the reasons is the former director for Perrysburg, or Visit Perrysburg, was worked at Levis, and obviously this art show was, for the past 15 years, was at Levis Commons.
I know that art show. It's ginormous.
Yeah, so that actually is now Hearts the Arts in downtown Perrysburg.
What was it called before? I remember talking about it every year. And I'd always be stunned how many artists were there.
Yeah, so for 3 years, me and my wife lived in an apartment in Levis Commons, Preston Gardens, and we look forward to that day every year. Was going to that art show and finding different things of the artists. Like, so one of my big things when I got the job was I would love to rebuild that relationship. I've talked to Rita over at Levis Commons, and one of the things I love to do is partner in an event. I think that, we do a lot of stuff downtown, which is awesome. It's great for the downtown community. But again, Perrysburg is so much bigger than just downtown. And so I would love to come up with an idea of throwing a big party or a big event out at Levis. Because again, that's a great location. It has restaurants, it has bars, it has
doors there now.
Yeah,
you've got all the doors you need in Perrysburg.
It has everything that you need. And so we are willing and trying to find a way that we can support Levis and find an an event that we can come up with them to support Levis.
Malls indoor, outdoor are struggling. These lifestyle centers that popped up like 15 years ago were great ideas, but then somebody's like, I came from Pennsylvania. It's cold there like it is cold here. And 6 months of the year, those places can be challenges. Do you have any ideas for how to make some of those places work? As right down the road in Fallen Timbers, there are people who are like, it's still open, which is unfortunate, but that's the thing with these. And that's not the case with Levis, but any ideas to inject some life into those lifestyle centers?
Yeah, I think it's just making awareness of the stores out there. And again, anytime that you can host events that bring people that normally wouldn't be there. If you host something that normally somebody's not going to Fallen Timbers or Levis, but you're hosting something there that they absolutely love, it's getting them there. And it's getting them there and showing off what they have to offer. Again, Levis Commons is amazing because it has everything that you need there. If you're a female, now I would say this, more female-wise, store-wise.
Skew female,
yes, it does.
And more affluent. I think there was an old line, and it made a lot of sense. I don't know if this was planned or not, but the idea was, since Levis and Fallen were an exit apart, parents would drop their kids off at Fallen Timbers, and they'd go shop at Levis.
Yeah, and so again, it's female friendly there with the stores, but again, if you're a guy, there's things there for you. There's Bar Louie, there's restaurants, there's the comedy show, there's different things that you can do. So there's things all throughout the year that you can go there for. Again, obviously in the wintertime, when it's snowing, you're probably not going to want to walk around the shopping area, which I get. But there's amazing restaurants. There's the comedy show that you can go to in the wintertime. Again, it's just getting that marketing out and getting the publicity out of all the things that have to offer. I can tell you this, if there's 3 feet of snow, I'm still finding my way to get the peanut butter and jelly.
Right. It sounds like it.
Yes.
It sounds like it.
So again, here's the thing. If the stores if there's a purpose, like that coffee shop, right? It doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, people are still going to be going there. So as long as you have something to offer the people, they're going to find a way to get to your stores.
Off the beaten path stuff. Do you remember your career average at Toledo?
Yeah, so I think I do. Actually, I joke with people all the time. My freshman year was my best year. I was ninth in the MAC in batting average. My sophomore year, I had a sophomore slump. And then my junior year, I only played 10 games because of Tommy John. And then my senior year, I think I only played 10 games because I tore my hamstring and I broke my hand. So I think, honestly, if I'm not mistaken, I have a career 300 batting average, even 300 batting
You're
average.
right. Do you know how many RBIs you had? I looked up your stats.
Okay. I would say probably 47.
46.
Okay.
Know how many runs you scored?
That one.
49.
49. Okay.
49. So sports and nerd stuff are my life, and I'm going to go this direction if you do have some time.
Yeah.
What was up with all these injuries? And I think plenty of people have had a hamstring strain, tearing it off the bone, which is essentially a strain, but that's like the worst kind.
Yeah.
What did that feel like? What was going on with all these injuries? Because it's frustrating, disappointing, in addition to all the pain.
Yeah. So obviously my first injury, serious injury, was my knee, and that was unfortunate. Anybody could tell you, I was not offensively in basketball. I literally, if you talk to my coach, Coach Krause, he would always say, "You have the red light. Do not shoot."
The red light.
Yeah. So I was.
You were the rebounder. You were the enforcer.
I was the point guard.
Okay.
So I was the person to get the offense in, and then I was the defensive person. Didn't matter if the person was a center, guard, forward. The best player I was guarding. So I went for a steal in the fourth quarter of a game that we were up big, and there was a little kid on the sideline, and I can remember it today. There was a kid on the sideline, so I went for a steal into the stands. I saw the kid. I was going to hit the kid, so I tried stopping my momentum, and my legs just stuck, and my shoulder went to the ground, and I heard a pop. And one of the most unfortunate things was that was my junior year, which back then was the biggest recruiting time period for baseball. So I ended up having surgery, missing baseball in the spring and summer. So then I went to Toledo. Like I said,
Try to go back. Where did you have your eyes on before the injury?
So one of the spots that I really wanted to go to was the University of Missouri. I went out there for 3 visits. Was in talks with Ohio State, and then I had basically all the MAC schools. So that was kind of frustrating, but luckily, like I said, the University of Toledo, every other school wanted me to wait till after my senior year to see how my knee held up. Coach me at the University of Toledo said, "Hey, we see what you were. We know that you're going to get back to it, so we're going to offer it, even though we don't know that your knee's going to hold up." So I was fortunate enough to have that offer. I jumped on it just in case something, you never know with injuries like that if you'll actually become who you were previously. So they took a chance on me. I took it. Like I said, my freshman year was my best year, and then no injuries freshman and sophomore year. And then junior, like I said, unfortunately, having Tommy John. And again, at some point when you just have injury after injury and you're just rehabbing psychologically, it's frustrating. It's hard. You're a college student. Your buddies are gone on the road trips. You're home by yourself. Mentally, it was very difficult to do. And then, like I said, going into senior year, I was ready. I was healthy. And then to have my hamstring and my hand broken, your identity was taken away, right? Like, so when at that point you're like, all right, my body's taking a hit. I don't know that I can continue to go on with this. And then when you're done playing baseball and that's all you've done sports your whole entire life, and that's taken away, it's hard to say, like, what am I supposed to do the rest of my life? And so luckily I had great family. My dad owned a business. I originally went back there and started working with him.
It was an interesting business.
Yes. So my dad for 20 plus years owned a burial business. So we would make burial vaults for funeral homes in Northwest Ohio. And then our employees would go and would actually set up the tent and chairs, and then they would lower the casket into the vaults after the service was done.
You did have access to get somebody else's meniscus or hamstring, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cadaver parts.
Yeah, so like I said, I I did that for a little while. I actually went back to school to finish because, again, leaving, I never went there for school. Leaving without a degree, I was like, you know what, I'll take over my dad's business. And then after a couple of years, I'm like, this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. So I went back and finished in 2014. I got my degree. And then, like I said, the job came available with Archbold and took that. And now it led me to this position here.
Let's go back to sports. Everybody, most people who even casually follow sports, they get college football, college basketball. How is college baseball so different other than being like a completely different world? So much so, like you talked about, you got an offer. There's not really scholarships in college baseball. There's like half scholarships.
Yeah, so there's 11.7 scholarships for 40 players. So you're... And I'm sure it's, like I said, I've been out for so long, but pitchers get majority of the scholarships. So if you're a dominant pitcher, you're probably going to get 50 to 60%. So again, you're not getting a full ride.
Right.
It's like you're talking about a unicorn if you get a full ride in college baseball. A lot of full rides can be like 50% athletics, 50% academic, and that's how you get a full ride. But to get a true 100% athletic scholarship in baseball is unheard of.
Because those kids are likely getting drafted anyway.
Correct, yeah. And so, again, like, I think it got changed, and I don't know if it's still like that, but now I think everyone has to, if you're on scholarship, you have to have at least a 25%, I believe. But again, some kids are going to still have your 50, 60%. But yeah, like college baseball is so much different than even when I played baseball. Like you're talking about now with the portal, a lot of kids, high school kids, are not getting the same opportunity to get recruited because, again, if you're a college coach and you go in the portal and you get a kid that has 2 years of experience at college baseball, you know how they play against that competition. You're more likely going to do that than you are about a kid that's a high school kid, 17 years old. You don't know what kind of player he is. You don't know how he handles failure. You've seen it in the college route. So we've seen a lot of players. I've coached a kid, actually, DJ Newman, in high school. He went to BG. He was freshman All-American. He was MAC freshman pitcher of the year, first team All-MAC. And this kid, he was first team All-State in football, basketball, baseball. And I think he had two.
What high school did you go to?
Archbold.
Okay.
So he was the only player. I don't know if that's ever or just that year, but he was the only player to be first team All-State in 3 sports. And he had 3 college offers. Now, this is a kid in like back when I was playing, a kid like that, I mean, you're going Big Ten, if not bigger. And so, again, he went to BG. His dad played at BG back in the day. And so he took the opportunity and he ran with it. So, again, it's a lot different than it was back when I played. But, hey.
Are you a Guardians or Tigers fan?
Neither.
Who do you like?
I'm a Yankees fan.
Why?
Growing up watching Derek Jeter in the playoffs, it just those years of the Yankees dynasty was it was when I was young.
Sure.
So every game.
I don't think he tagged Giambi.
No, he did.
No. Are you sure we can't? Yeah. How else? Baseball has come light years in the last 5 years. Do you still coach?
I don't. So when I took the Parks and Recreation job, I gave up coaching baseball, and then we have a thing in Northwest Ohio. It's called Acme Baseball. And so part of my job when I first started was I had to coach our junior Acme team. So that was,
is it like an American Legion kind of thing?
It's kind of like so your high school baseball program can continue to play during the summer.
Got it.
So it allows you to finish your spring and then continue like for next year's team is going to be playing in the summer. That was my last time coaching. So I haven't coached baseball in probably 6 years. For the previous 7 years or so, I've coached high school basketball. So that, to be honest, baseball is a slow sport for somebody that played baseball. It was slow enough to play. It's even slower to coach. So that's why I love basketball. It's fast paced. You have more control. And I just love the game of basketball. So
when you were younger, baseball was your passion, but now it's switched?
No, if I was 6'6" and I
say the same thing about myself,
and I could shoot and actually get a scholarship playing basketball, I would have played basketball in a heartbeat.
I always said that I I grew taller, so I'm 5'11", and I was like 5'11" like 8th grade.
That's how I was.
I always said if I was like 6'2", 6'3", I would have probably made my varsity basketball team. I played high school baseball, and I went to Towson University, and my dad got me a tryout for the team. Coach was cool. He's like, come on out. But it was weird going away from school, and then real fast I wound up in radio. My sport as a kid was always baseball. I was best at it. It's what my dad loved most. And now I kind of hop all around. But how closely do you watch baseball now? Because it has changed so much. And I'm not just talking like pitch clock stuff. I'm talking like the technical things. Do you still watch it closely?
Yeah. So I have my oldest son. He's 3 years old. Short story. I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. My son is named Hayes from Woody Hayes.
Okay.
So he is absolutely in love with baseball right now. So every morning we wake up, we have to play catch. We have to hit. I think for the past 5 days, he's been crying because we haven't been able to go to the ball field. So we have baseball on TV all day long. When the College World Series is on, we watch that all the time. My sister-in-law's boyfriend is the associate head coach at Bowling Green. So we go to college games. I try to make a couple Rockets games and watch that. And then I go back and watch Archbold play. A former coach of mine. He was my assistant coach in high school. He is now the head coach. So I go back and watch them, support them. Anytime I have the ability to watch it, I do. Again, it's so much different. Like when you're playing it, I don't like. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I put it on TV and I fall asleep. Like,
right.
It's just.
Thank God for the pitch clock.
It is. I mean, the game. Like you said, the game has changed so much that sometimes I wonder if. I've always said this: the game of baseball has been played the same way for how many years?
140.
Yep. So and then we make changes. Right. Here's my thought. You either like baseball or you don't. Changing little things isn't going to bring people into like a sport that just because you change something. People love baseball for what it is. Don't change it. It's been the same way for years. Like you said, 140 years. It's America's pastime. I still believe that because there's nothing, like I said, I joke because I made a deal with my son. He played t-ball this year. I was a coach, which let me tell you, 3 and 4 year old is a lot different than coaching high school baseball.
Yeah. You'll take the high school kids, right?
Yes. But I joked with him. I said, "Hey, listen, bud, if you hit it to the outfield, Mom and Dad will take you to a Yankees game."
Okay.
So what's he do? Knocks it out to the outfield, and first thing he gets to first base. He goes to first base. He goes, "Dad, we're going to a Yankees game." So, but to the story of that is, there's nothing better than going to a major league stadium and seeing how green grass, the grass is so green. The smell of baseball. You got the hot dogs. You got the beer. You have all that. Like, it's still the beauty of baseball. So I think as much as it's changed, it still has that feel of the same. Do I believe that the major league game has changed for the worse? Absolutely. I think they've done things that should have been changed.
Like what?
Well, again, like the pitch clock, right? Like, I get it, right? Some people want the game faster, but again, like, I'm going there for baseball. I'm spending the money to go there. I don't need it to go any faster. The only thing that I would argue is it's no different than when you're watching a college football game. Advertising has gone out of hand.
It's a 5-hour endeavor.
Yeah, so me and my wife went to the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State played Wisconsin, I believe. And, when a timeout happens, you're at home and you're seeing the commercial. But when you're at the stadium and you're sitting there for 10 minutes and there's nothing going on and you're like, no wonder these games take 5 hours. I think that's the biggest thing. Before, back in the day, you had a couple, like, commercials weren't that big of a deal. Well, now all advertising is, and I get it. Like, as a business and a company, you want to put that during those times.
That stuff keeps these things going.
Correct. But for a fan, that's why the games have gone so long.
Yeah.
Like, just in between innings, time at how many commercials is like if it was able to just do like a high school game where you went out, you warmed up, and you did, that wouldn't be a problem. The game length wouldn't be any issue. So I think them changing it is changing it for the worse.
I like the pitch clock got me back to watching more games than I had in years.
Okay.
Because I loved baseball.
Yeah.
It just got too long. It was, I guess you could start, like, I call it like the Nomarisms. Like, we didn't need that, and it's funny how the batter stuff went to pitchers, and it's been fascinating to watch. Like, it's impossible. Like, I'm a super stat head. A friend of mine the other day, I'm from Philadelphia, and he showed me Ryan Howard's numbers side by side to Shohei Ohtani, who I think is the greatest baseball player to ever live.
Yep.
And Willie Mays just died.
Yep.
And I'm like, Shohei Ohtani would hit 75 home runs back then because guys not everybody threw 98 and 99.
Right.
So I do like the fact that the clock made these guys go less full effort to preserve themselves and to not get injured. And it made the games move faster. Like, it was baffling the beginning of last year to see, like, I'm sorry, the game was 2 hours and 11 minutes. Like, was this 6 innings? Was it cut short?
Well, like, and another thing, you look at, how about, I don't know if you've seen it, obviously, if you're baseball, you probably seen, but the, what is it, Savannah Banana?
Savannah Bananas.
How awesome is that? Like,
they're, you might be too young, but remember the Vex? Bill Veck? Mm-mm. So it's Bill Veck or Joe Veck. They were, I think they were minor league guys, and then I think eventually got like a major league job. I think VEECK. Okay. Wild Ideas. He might have been the one behind the Disco Demolition Derby. All those strange ideas. Yeah. But yeah, I know Savannah Bananas, the traveling barnstorming minor league team.
You look at a game like that, it's a set time limit. Like, you're talking about
like kids leagues.
90, like, you're talking about 90 minutes, I think, or 60 minutes. It's something crazy. But yeah, like, again, I think if there's ways that you can make it more entertaining and you can get more people involved, I think the game of baseball itself is down from what it was back.
Sure.
From what it is. But yeah, so again, I'm not for changes. It's just for something that, for me, it's like, it's been working for 150 years, 140 years. Like, why change it?
To your point, I don't know if the changes were ever going to draw more people in, and I don't give baseball a hard time for not marketing better, because at this point, it's incumbent upon the players. The best player, one of the best players ever, I'm disappointed that you can probably relate. Mike Trout was on pace to be one of the 10 greatest players ever, and he has succumbed to injuries. If Mike Trout doesn't want to be all over Twitter and social, that's cool, because if he doesn't want to do that, he's not going to be a part of Major League Baseball marketing. But I do think some of the changes have like brought me back a little bit, and it's kept some fans who might have left because they can't do 3.5 hours every night.
Yeah.
It gets them to stick around a little bit longer.
Well, I think one of the things that, if you're a true fan of Major League Baseball, like, trying to watch a Major League Baseball on TV is impossible, right? Yeah. It's either blacked out or just to try to get the game. Like, I think, to be honest, like, I think Major League Baseball itself is hurting its brand by not showing more games. Like, it's like, you try to watch, unless you have Bally's? Yeah, like,
which the Tigers just came off of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, unless you have that stuff and you're spending the extra money to watch it, the chances of finding a game on TV anymore are slim. So, like, we're really hurting the market.
The extra innings package was like half off, though, a couple of times.
Yeah. Like, again, like, if you do that, but again, we're asking people, and you're asking people to spend more money in an economy right now where some people are struggling, like, right? Like, so you're asking families to dish out if you want to watch your favorite team, where back in the day you could have found a game on TV whenever you wanted. Every single day there was somehow a game on.
We were all, one way, shape, or form, we watched to like the Braves or to hate them.
Yes.
Because, oh shit, it's a Monday night, there's no games on. You flip on TBS and the Braves are playing the Cubs.
Yep.
One of the other things I think gets overlooked is, are you watching any TV shows right now?
So, not that's on TV itself. I'm watching
streaming. I mean,
yeah. So, one I'm watching is Billions.
Okay,
it's on
going
Prime.
back on it, right?
Yep, Prime.
So before, baseball was able to dominate summer TV because, first of all, the NFL wasn't that big. The NFL didn't make players arriving to training camp as big as, so shout out to them. But there were no new TV shows for like 4 months, so baseball could dominate. Now, like, Game of Thrones just came back. Like, there's shows all the time around the calendar.
Well, and obviously streaming. You know, back in the day, there wasn't no streaming. It was whatever was on local TV. Now you got Dish, you got DirecTV, you got YouTube TV, you got Prime, you got HBO Max. Like, if you can't find something, there's always something to watch. So I think that's what hurts a lot. And to be honest, as a coach, I think that's why athletes are completely different than older generation, because, again, we lived for watching sports, right? So sports was always on TV. That was literally the only thing.
We're playing video games of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And now kids aren't sitting and watching baseball. They're not sitting and watching basketball games. They're not, unless it's like March Madness or something like that. They're not doing. And to be honest, we tell our players, when I coach girls basketball, so when the girls tournament was on, we want you to sit down and watch, because that's where you're going to learn. Like, we can preach all we want, but you're going to see it actually in use, because these girls are doing the techniques and that we're asking you to do on a daily thing. So watch them. Watch how they come off a screen. Watch how they screen. Watch how they pick and roll. And you don't get that because there's so much things to do nowadays. Where back in the day there wasn't.
We would go out and play ball. Our version of practice was like, me and my dad after dinner we'd go over to the field, throw 50 pitches, and now, like so much in the world, everything has gone extreme. You're just not an athlete, you don't play the stuff, or like when we were growing up, a couple of the really good kids who had affluent parents, they went to camps. Now anybody that plays goes to camp, and there's no more like pickup kind of thing for almost any sport.
Well, and I think a lot of things will stick with baseball. A lot of things that have hurt baseball is the travel ball. Right?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, like when I was in school, the top players played travel baseball. And not to only mention, you brought up Legion, right? The top players played Legion baseball. In my high school career for Legion baseball, I played with 3 major leaguers that actually played in the major leagues.
Who were they?
Mark Krause,
okay,
John Neese,
pitcher,
and Chris Carpenter.
Okay, so
a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, Cubs, and then
the other Chris Carpenter, right?
Yeah, not the Cy Young. Yes, yep. Again, like that's where the best players played, and now. As a former high school coach, we used to have JV players that were not even in the starting lineup, not playing with us in the summer because they were playing on a travel team, and that's what's hurt it. Again, travel baseball has gotten to the point of it's all a moneymaker.
Oh, I was just going to say, I used to have these philosophies, and I've added travel sports. If you're okay, like dismissing your ethics and morals, and you want to make a lot of money, open a hospital or a university.
Yep.
Now I've added to that like travel sports.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I just saw a video. Cameron Mabin.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played in a perfect game tournament down in Georgia, and it was on his Twitter page. And he's out there as a coach. He's dragging the field in between games because there was nobody to drag it. Now, mind you, that's a $3,500 tournament, and it costs $65 per parent to get in. And these tournaments don't care about actual tournament. They care about
the money.
And that's where we've gotten to. We've gotten to, it's not about the kids anymore. It's become a corporation. If you actually look at these, a lot of corporations own these organizations that are hosting these tournaments, and it's just a money grab.
Yeah.
And what parents don't understand is your son or daughter's on a team and they're on the D team. That D team is paying for the A team.
Yeah.
So again, as a former player that got the privilege of playing college baseball, we've seen kids that don't do anything. They literally stay in their town. They work hard. They play their high school teams. They do the extra. They might go to one showcase here and there, and they still make it. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to try to get your kid a scholarship. I promise you, if your kid is good enough, they will find you.
Yeah. And with so much that these kids can go learn on YouTube now, I was just listening to somebody the other day. They were telling an anecdote about a kid who wanted to work on his curveball. So he just pulled something up on YouTube and changed his pitch shape.
Well, and here's the thing with social media itself, you could go to the ball field. Your mom could record you taking ground balls while your dad's pitching to you, and you could post that on social media, and you're going to get a lot more views than actually half of these tournaments.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where college coaches aren't going to these. Again, the portal has changed that, a lot of it. But if you put yourself out on social media and you do it correctly, you're going to get more people that are going to see you than a whole summer worth of tournaments.
And it's rare because there are so many eyes out there, whether they're live, and I know there's fewer scouts than ever, but organizations have interns of interns who will scour the internet to find these. Although, you follow college baseball at all?
So I only follow I follow college baseball locally. Like I said, the Rockets and I follow the Rockets, the Falcons, and then my former coach is an assistant coach at Western Michigan. So I kind of follow just the local teams that I either have association with or obviously that I play for. And then when the College World Series or Super Regionals and Regionals happen, then I start getting back into it.
Do you know the Charlie Condon story?
Is Georgia, right?
Yeah.
He was a walk-on player, and now he's going to be he's going to be number 1 pick or number 2 pick.
Hit an inordinate amount of home runs that I've never seen in a college baseball single season. So, but that's like a once-a-decade kind of thing. Those kids don't get missed.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Congrats to that kid, right? Like,
that
kid took a chance on himself. He took a chance on himself, walked on at the University of Georgia. He could have gone somewhere probably, I guess, less and probably got a scholarship, but he took a chance on himself and it succeeded. Now he's going to be making millions of dollars here shortly in the draft. And again, if you're good enough, you might be like a prime example. I coached a kid at Archbold. He went the JUCO route and didn't have any offers coming out of high school, so he went the JUCO route. He went to JUCO for 2 to 3 years. I think COVID made it 3 years. Then he signed with Toledo. And then this past year, or 2 years ago, he was MAC Player of the Year.
What's his name?
Jaron Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
He got drafted.
Yeah, he got drafted ninth round to the Astros and now is killing it in the Astros organization.
Just got pulled up AA too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So like there's a kid that had no offers. That kid never played travel baseball, never did anything. But every night you would go to the ball fields at Memorial Park and you know his dad would be hitting him ground balls to short and he'd be throwing them to first base. And again, every kid goes differently. Like you said, you were 5'11" in 8th grade. I was 5'11" in 8th grade too. And I never grew again. But everyone grows differently. So to put it out there that I need to be going to all these tournaments and my parents need to be spending all this money, again, I will go back to a comment that was always made to me. If you are good enough at any time in your career, they will find you. That doesn't mean you could start in NAIA, you could go Division III. That's the beauty about baseball. There's not a lot of sports that you can go and get drafted in an NAIA school. You're not getting drafted in the NFL. There might be 1 or 2, but you're not getting drafted from NAIA. You could go top 5 rounds from an NAIA school. You can go JUCO and get drafted. Like that doesn't happen in basketball. That doesn't happen in football. So baseball, it's one of the few sports that allows you to go to multiple regions to find a way to get drafted, or even go to, like, you could start NAIA and you could, by the time you're a junior senior, playing Division I at LSU.
Well, look at a guy, and this is where I get super nerdy. Like Paul Skeens is going to be in the Cy Young discussion.
Yep.
And the discussion about him being in the discussion is going to be fiery because he's going to be like 50 to 60 innings behind everybody.
Yep.
This dude was an outfielder for Air Force a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And then he's like, I don't want to do my Air Force duty, goes to LSU, gets one of the hottest girls on the planet, and is possibly going to start the All-Star game next week.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you know this story, but this year in the college baseball, UConn had, I think, 8 Division II players.
Wait, are you talking basketball?
Baseball.
Okay, if you would ask me if UConn has a baseball team,
yeah,
I would have said I'm not sure.
Yeah, so UConn made it to the Super Regionals. They actually beat Florida State one game, but they had 7 players in their lineup was playing Division II baseball last year. Division III baseball last year. So think about that. You're playing Division III baseball a year ago, and now you're in the Super Regional at Tallahassee playing against Florida State. That's what's so amazing about baseball compared to any other sport. Like you look at the college football playoffs, right? You put that team in like Cincinnati, right? That year they had an undefeated season. They went to the playoffs and got blasted. Like in college baseball, you could have a team. I think so. I was in high school. I think Fresno State was a 4 seed, not ranked, like barely 500. They went on to win the national championship. You don't see that in any other sport. You don't see that in basketball. You don't see that in football. And that's what's the beauty about college baseball is any team can win.
You mentioned Division III. Would it be people, even I had to get corrected, but people would bring up the best Alabama team ever could probably beat the worst NFL team ever. No, they couldn't. No. Because it's 7 NFL players against 55.
Correct.
You talk about Division III. So the quality of talent on a Division III school or an NAIA school, what's the best baseball program around here? Like Anthony Wayne?
High school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably Anthony Wayne.
Would you say, especially with the right pitcher on the mound, Anthony Wayne could give like a Division III school a run?
Man.
but at least thinking about it.
Okay, I'm thinking about it. I would say this: a bad Division III school,
okay,
probably.
Okay,
a top Division III, like we have a really good Division III school in Ohio, Marietta. They compete for national championships every year. You're talking about kids there that are throwing 92 to 94. Like they might have bloomed late. So like maybe they got to school and they were 86, 85. And then they just took off physically and now they're up to 92, 94. Like Anthony Wayne, even if they are as good as they are in high school, like no high school kid is going to face, like they don't face that. And
I thought maybe the competition would be closer than.
I would say this, to be dead honest with you, if you want to go a different route, I would say that there is a lot of JUCO teams in college baseball that would beat Division I teams.
Because in a lot of JUCO teams, you got a lot of kids like maybe like were your grades good in high school? You just didn't care about school.
Yeah,
you got a lot of kids who like. You talked about letters with math. Like, they couldn't do math at all, so they went to JUCO because they could throw 94, right?
Yeah, or you have players that went Division I, got in trouble, and then, they lose their scholarship. They go to the JUCO route to kind of get on good graces. Like, that's the thing. Like, you have Division I players and Major League players all throughout JUCO. So, again, that's what the funny part is. And there's been times if you actually go through... It'd be hard to look it all up, but there's times where you could go back and look, and there's Division III schools that are beating Division I schools when they play in the regular season. Like the game of baseball is one of those games that anything can happen. Like
your pitcher,
like it's all about pitching, and that's why in college baseball pitching is huge, and that's why the scholarship goes to it. Because if you have a dominant pitcher is always going to be the dominant hitter, no matter what.
Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course.